Welcome to Idle Red Hands Weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Chris.
And what is Idle Red Hands Weekly? It is to act and speak as if you are the character you're portraying. It's as much about what not to say as what to say. It means to keep your speech in context of the setting in which your character exists. Context can be defined as both time and place.
Where did that one come from?
That was the Urban Dictionary's version of role-play definition.
Oh, really?
I thought it applied to RPGs, but they're talking about like faking somebody out like on a forum or something. Okay. It's like playing a character on a forum, which I do think it's interesting because I've noticed we're starting to get dislikes now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on Idle Red Hands Weekly, and I think it's because
we just suck.
That could be it. But voicing opinions that aren't backed by a character, like if you're just honestly expressing an opinion and just like, I really don't know, but this is how I feel. People are like, I don't want to hear that. What's your character? Are you the angry GM or are you the it's like they
Happy
want
GM.
They want this like character and this digestible point of view. And when you come across like, hey, I don't know, but this is how I feel, people are like, screw you, man.
Really interesting. Your contention is that people actually kind of want a bite-sized opinion fed to them and not gray area. Yeah,
I think so. And they have wanted you to present that with something that, that's what this character would say. Mm. That's why I listen to him, because he always has this, very, heavy-handed, very, anti-whatever,
Interesting. Do you think that's because possibly people want to listen to something that backs up their own opinion?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just, they want that validation of, of course, I hate this. This is what I hate about the hobby. And you just said it. And that means I'm right.
Right. You know what? Whatever it is, like confirmation bias or whatever, like I find myself kind of doing the same thing. So I totally get it.
And I think that the problem why I'm really unlikable when I talk is that I listen to really extreme versions of both sides. And I think that that's interesting because there's valid thinking and valid points in everything. And it's just what people are comfortable with and kind of what their experiences have been and what that does to give them that perspective. But also I think YouTube really likes people to play things up. That's why you have the angry video game nerd and angry Joe and angry this, everything has to be this extreme because people are like, he really tore that apart, man. And I don't know.
The only thing I do for YouTube is the Sesame Street channel for my kid.
Right.
And that's in the TV. So luckily I don't get recommendations that are not non-Sesame Street.
Good.
And watching our Alien videos. And then the recommendations that come up are like 10 things wrong with, and like, I'm like, this is not even like barely related, and
right.
I don't particularly care about all the things that are wrong with whatever, or kind of super extreme video game things because I'm not a video gamer.
Yeah,
so I'm just like,
I hope that doesn't start crossing over so heavily into role playing because video games, I guess because of Gamergate and things have really heavy-handed, really attack mode stuff.
I think it's going to only because YouTube benefits from outrage clicks and all that kind of stuff. So it's not like true. Those things are going to go away anytime soon.
Yeah, I think all that kind of clickbaity stuff. I mean, people really like that. If you can take a headline and be like, this is hate and this is this and I want to see what that's about.
So I hated the Alien RPG. How's that? Because you can use that for the clickbait headline. Yeah,
that's right. Well, speaking of the Alien RPG, there's no session this week, so we're kind of taking a week off.
Which is what I hate about it. Not the game itself. I hate that there's not a session this week.
Yes. Yeah, so that's probably going to be our ultimate session. I'm curious to see. I mean, it's possible to get it'd be possible to extend it, but I think it's all going down. Yeah,
we've all pretty much all the PCs. So I'm not counting the one you're playing because it's an NPC.
Right.
All the PCs have survived 2 sessions so far.
Yeah. I was curious if anybody would have stayed behind or tried to go back on the ship. We would have had a lot more deaths because that's just instant death. They even have rules for trying to load the helium-3 to be able to salvage it and resell it. If you drop a canister, the whole ship goes.
Well, we tried.
Yes.
We tried and we got locked out. And I think I think maybe Chris failed to roll or something to get back on the ship.
Right. It was possible to force your way back on, but there was not going to be any easy access.
You're also dealing with something else going on this side of the ship. Yes. We're like, 2 bad things. Okay.
So that'll give everybody a chance to catch up. So maybe session 3 will be, everybody will know exactly where we are. Yeah, I think the pilot has come the closest to losing it, his stress, her stress, I guess.
I really like the stress mechanic because I think we kind of discussed last time. It's not really that scary for the player, and I don't really know if it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. But it's hard to role play a character who is seeing something they've never seen before and is, terrified or who knows how they're going to react. Mm-hmm. And that stress mechanic helps give mechanical weight to back it up, where even if you're if you don't feel your role playing to the full extent, like there is a mechanical effect that is going to make bad stuff happen.
Right.
So I do like how that is I like how that's supported in the system. Yeah.
Once we started firing guns, I have to double check the rules. I think I was making a mistake.
Is that why we missed all the time?
No, but if you roll a 1 on your stress, I think what the effect that happens to your gun, then you don't have to take a panic roll.
Oh, okay.
It's either like one or the other. Like your weapon stops malfunctioning, or you take a panic roll. And so I don't think both. And I was giving everybody both,
right?
Making it extra stressful.
Well, and also Chris kept rolling those 7s and giving everyone else stress. Right. It's funny. I was watching YouTube clips of Alien Covenant, and there's like one like bloodburster scene or whatever, and I'm like, and no one can hit this thing. And then I thought, I'm like, just like us, because we were rolling like crap when we were firing guns. And I'm like, okay, I guess I can't really complain, huh? But yeah, everyone just seemed like they were acting real stupid. I'm just like,
Keep an eye out for that. Hopefully coming next Friday.
Oh, hopefully.
Be streaming that. And also this week, the D&D Essentials arrived. So that was something we had to order from North American Target because it's a Target exclusive.
Which boggles my mind.
What people are calling it is an expansion to the original starter set. So this is a more evolved. So they're kind of taking the Vandalin, the kind of setting of what that little adventure is, and broadening it out. So it's a starter set, but it's a sandbox. Like they give you a bit of a sandbox. So there's a lot to do in just a starter set, and they're giving you more maps, GM screen, and they're getting you a little bit more decked out with kind of playing aids. But it's kind of tied together. So if you have already played that first starter set, you can actually continue into this.
Okay. So it sounds like it's something that's designed for possibly new players. But if you already have the other one, it's not as if you have to start over, or they do kind of connect, but you don't have to connect them.
Right. Okay. Yeah. They both work independently, but they gave a connection to it, I guess, to get people to buy the next one.
Well, it's not like they weren't going to.
Right. One thing that they are introducing, though, is they're calling this a 2 to however many 6 or 8 player game, because they are including the sidekick system.
Okay.
So sidekick system is a way to include an NPC with you and level them, like how you would level them on an adventure. So you're controlling an NPC and your PC, and there's the GM. So it can be a two-player session.
Oh, so the player.
Yes.
Not the DM.
Right.
The player is controlling a PC and a quasi-PC, I guess?
Yeah, just somebody connected. And so it's at least a 2-player party, and it gives them the ability to be a little bit more proficient and maybe handle some things that they couldn't have handled with just one attack roll.
I can see that. I mean, that's one of the benefits of, I guess, like the hireling system from like old school D&D, where if you do only have 2 players, you have a bunch of characters. Right. Well, when Lyle and I first started 3.5 again after moving here, it was a 2-player game. We just had the player run 2 PCs, make 2 PCs, play them. There won't be a lot of in-character dialogue because you'll just be talking to yourself, but it worked. So
yeah, so I'm curious because they had released these rules previously, but this is the first time that they're in print, that they're appearing.
Maybe the ones prior to this were kind of playtest stuff.
I think so, yeah. I think it was like, if you need to do this, Yeah, so we'll be unboxing that and kind of discussing that and kind of how satisfying it is and how good an introduction this is to D&D. And the other thing that may come up is to get that free shipping, I needed to add like another $10.
Okay.
So I bought the Stranger Things starter set. So that's that branded like the beginning, because they're going to do a Rick and Morty, I think, Dungeons and Dragons. And that'll shatter the fan base, I'm sure, because Rick and Morty is.
Does it include that whatever McDonald's Szechuan sauce or whatever from the alternate dimension thing? Yeah.
Yes, and Pickle Rick is a monster.
Oh, jeez.
But that's going to be interesting because I think the Rick and Morty fan base and kind of role play is not all that compatible. I mean, there's a lot of nerds that like both, but there's a lot of like, I'm the smartest man in the room.
Well, then play a wizard, or be the DM. Be the DM.
Right. Yeah, so we'll see. But it's, now they're kind of pushing it towards, Monopoly territory where they're just going to kind of rebrand these starter sets. But yeah, so we'll take a look at that.
I'd seen someone on social media said that Hasbro was approaching D&D not as a role-playing game, but sort of as a franchise line. And I think this kind of backs up that opinion. Sure, on the one hand, does it cheapen D&D or role-playing games in general to kind of treat it like Monopoly and have all these, kind of brandings on it? I don't know. It feels that way a little bit, but on the other hand, nerds going to buy anything because we're collectors.
Right.
And also, will this attract people who wouldn't otherwise play? Because, I love Stranger Things and here's a game about it, but not really?
Right.
Or, that's the game they played in Stranger Things. Or, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. But we'll just kind of have to wait and see.
It's, from what I know about it, without opening the box, it's Will's adventure. It's basically like written as you play the characters that they played in their D&D session. So you're not like playing
your own characters.
You're not playing anything. It's pre-gens, and it's kind of, they expanded on what they suggested their session was like. And it is interesting because that means that anytime D&D is referenced and anytime it enters any other pop culture, they're going to see that as, this can be a gateway. So we can theme a starter set that way. And people see the brand, see the show that they like, and like, oh, and this is the set, and maybe we'll try this. So yeah, it is an interesting way to kind of theme things to make people feel more comfortable. Well, I'm not that big a nerd, but I do like Stranger Things. So.
Yeah, I guess I can't really fault them for doing that. But again, I kind of wonder, are people just going to feel the need to collect it? Certain people I'm sure are.
Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, I'd be curious to know whether it actually attracts people who are into whatever media franchise the tie-in is part of.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious too. Yeah, we'll see. Well, it was very cheap, so I'm not sure how well it's doing.
It's cheap for a reason, yeah.
Yeah, right. It was
it is Target.
Deeply discounted. Yeah, right. Target doesn't let stuff stick around. So what did you do this week? Anything?
Not a whole lot gaming related. I think I will be running a game of the Sprawl for the July Kansai International Gamers Guild RPG Day.
Nice.
So that's at the end of the month, and I have to plan for that.
And that's a Powered by the Apocalypse cyberpunk setting.
Yes.
Nice.
That's the one we played.
Yes.
Where it turns out we were all neon liberal and not really all that cyberpunk. Hopefully this one will be a bit more cyberpunk.
Oh, very cool. Coming up this week for us, hopefully, I guess next week, we're trying to get an interview with Andrew E.C. Gaska, the writer of, going back to the Alien RPG, Chariot of the Gods, that
cool.
cinematic starting adventure. So he's a novelist that's written a bunch of big properties. I guess he's worked for Fox as kind of a story consultant, and he's done Space 1999 and Buck Rogers, Alien, and then Planet of the Apes. So kind of is familiar with taking an IP and kind of expanding it.
Cool.
I guess you can kind of feel that in this adventure. He had a good handle on the setting and kind of doing stuff that was thematic, but didn't feel like, oh, we're just replaying this exact movie or this exact scene.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I hope that turns out, and we'll get that up as soon as we get a chance to talk to him. And it'll be fun to just kind of, without spoilers, just talk about his involvement and kind of how he came up with what was going to happen in that starting adventure, and with the restrictions that they gave him for what is a cinematic adventure, and what he should do.
That'll be cool.
Yeah. For future topics, another thing that came up in the Alien sessions is music and sound effects. So I was wondering...
Blaring siren, yeah.
Yes. I was wondering how annoying or how immersive that actually is, because I heard audio only of another Alien RPG session, and they had that droning kind of really eerie music through the entire session.
That'd be cool.
I think that added a lot because the GM was slow and descriptive, and he really brought the pace down and okay, you look over here and you see this. And with this, kind of soundtrack behind him, I think that worked really well. But I don't know if that would kind of get annoying after a while. If it wasn't immersing you and you weren't really getting into, becoming kind of agitated and kind of creeped out, it'd just be like, okay, can we turn that off?
Maybe. I don't know, maybe we discussed before how some actual plays are just people playing a game and other actual plays are more like a radio drama. I think if you skewed more towards the radio drama side, then the sound effects and background music maybe would not get as annoying. I tend to not use them when I run a game only because it's one more thing I have to do.
Right.
And I'm already kind of a little bit stressed out. So I liked it during our Aliens game, and I think the microphone for the electronic voice of Mother was a nice way to differentiate the characters, because as GM you have to play a bunch of them, and anything to kind of keep the characters more distinct in the player's mind, I think is a good idea.
Yeah.
As for sound effects, they were fine. I was mostly joking when I said, okay, and that siren, I could have had it turned off about 5 minutes ago. That was a bit of an exaggeration and joke. But yeah, if it had gone on longer, I think I'd have been like, okay, can we please turn that off? But
yeah, luckily John had the sense of, you might turn that down a little bit, because I'm sure on the stream it was just like nothing.
I haven't heard listening on the stream. Yeah.
But I did want to mention, so the reason that I wanted to try to use the sound effects is because Tabletop Audio had a really great soundboard, and they've got this technology called SoundPad, and I think it's just like a web app that they've come up with. And the cool thing you can do if you're playing remotely, you can send everybody in your group a link, and they connect to the website, and then they hear the sound effects you're playing live.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, so that's another like added thing that makes remote playing even easier and kind of more immersive, because everyone's hearing exactly when you're, and here's some footsteps, and here's the alien, hiss, sound.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's nice. And it allows you can loop things and kind of layer things in, so you can build things up. Like there's actually music and droning and then little water dripping and stuff. So you can create textures within this soundboard, which is it's handled pretty well. So if you're interested at all, they have a huge variety of settings, from fantasy to cyberpunk, and then alien and kind of sci-fi settings.
That's really awesome.
Yeah, so tabletopaudio.com if you want to check that out. Yeah, somebody recommended that on one of the Alien forums, and I took a look and was surprised that they're good sound effects, and some of them are manufactured, and some of them they recreated as much of Alien like, I think, without like just recording from the movies and things. So
cool.
That's nice. Yeah, it's hard to orchestrate. You almost want to play it on a keyboard instead of a soundboard, because there's a lot to control when you're trying to keep the narrative moving.
Yeah, and trying to keep the narrative moving while doing other stuff is just something I kind of can't do.
Right. The Xenomorph says, and you push the button.
Yeah.
So this week, anything on Kickstarter catch your eye?
I've been looking at the spy game for 5e by, I believe it's Black Cat Studios. And the thing that kind of caught my eye about it was after the Rocket Age 5e interview we did. And I had said it was nice to see the D&D 5th edition rule set being used for something kind of other than D&D. I thought I kind of had to look at this because it felt a bit hypocritical to not. It's basically, it's James Bond, all the other sort of spy thrillers. They said you could do pulp, or you could kind of like, I guess, older James Bond, or kind of newer James Bond or Jason Bourne kind of stuff.
Nice.
Either kind of comedic or serious.
Right.
They have a quick start game out that you can download for free, which I went through. And even though it's developed by some of the people who worked on the Star Trek Adventures, this, to me, looked just like D&D 5e with all the fantasy stuff stripped out, replaced. You don't have, the classes don't match up. You know, they kind of have types of spies or agents that you'd be playing. So they're all different, but it's still completely built on the 5e engine. And I don't know if I'm going to back it or not, but it was at least interesting to look at. And it's nice to see like a game that is not fantasy for the world's most popular role-playing game.
Right. Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting how people tweak it, because I think from what we've seen, so Year Zero, the Year Zero engine is what they use for Alien, and I think that they tweaked like the stress mechanics and things, they tweaked in a really nice way. So very different from how it works in Forbidden Lands, where you're not adding specific gear dice and specific skills separate from a base die pool. So it was really nice to see how well that system moved around. But it sounds like from what you're saying, it still looks and feels a lot like D&D.
Well, I haven't played it.
Yeah.
Obviously,
but from the rules,
they've taken out magic, obviously, because there's no magic in Spy, and they've replaced it with like a hacker. Unlike what I had kind of complained about before, where the hacker was just renamed spells, it looks like the hacker is just a different kind of attack and is maybe able to attack, quotes, computer systems better, where, because it looked like some servers had like an AC, you know, armor class value and hit points, and like once you got past that and reduced it to 0, you were kind of in and could manipulate the system. But it seems like hackers are kind of the only ones that can do that. They also had rules for vehicles. It's maybe not just a reskin. It's kind of what I guess they did for Rocket Age 5e, where we have an idea. We're going to use this tool set and tweak some things so that to better reflect the genre, hopefully. Right. But I mean, you still have armor class and hit points and feats and stuff like that. And,
If all you've ever played is 5e, that might be an interesting way to kind of switch things up a little bit. Yeah, because if you know that rule set, then you're not going to be so, I don't know, we have to learn a lot. Yeah, if it is tweaks.
I don't think they mention it on the Kickstarter, but you would probably be able to use 5e stuff in your spy adventure game, I guess. If you wanted to bring in like a Tarrasque or a Mind Flayer or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, delve the monster manual for I guess, something to throw at your players if you wanted to. Seems a bit strange, but I guess you could do it.
Yeah, I'm curious. And I guess if for that, you would definitely want some good source adventures and some good modules to
that's one of the things. And maybe that's why it's kind of safer to do, or easier to do fantasy, because there's already a wealth of stuff for new players to pick from.
Yeah, well, we'll put a link for that in the description so you can check that out. I didn't see any Kickstarters this week, but I did notice this is the last week for the Humble Bundle. They did a big RPG book bundle, and it's all 5e, and they're calling it the Beast of a Bundle, and it really is. It's like $500 worth of books. And so it's Tome of Horrors, In Vino Gigantis, Whisper in the Crags, and other things by developers, like third-party developers like Frog God and people like that. But it brought up an interesting point. I mean, this is a lot of source. This could last you for decades of campaign playing if you're going to dedicate some time.
Assuming you could meet that regularly.
Yeah, right. The one thing that I thought was interesting, and I saw someone comment, I don't think on Humble Bundle, but on another site, maybe a blog announcing this, was that isn't this why you play role-playing games? So you can come up with your own settings, your own campaigns, your own characters, your own new classes that are, kind of homebrew and are unique to your group. I think that's a good discussion is, are you in it for just what's already in print and just following through that, or are you in it for the creativity of actually making your own, fantasy world or fantasy setting, or just adjusting things to your taste?
Wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's a really individual choice. I mean, everyone's in it for different things. And as someone who's running a Patreon, not that I got into it with someone on Facebook, when I posted a Facebook link to my Patreon in one of the Fate things, someone said, I don't like charging money for something GMs could do themselves.
Right.
Which is a valid comment. Invalid by the fact that the stuff I release is free. So, yeah, made sure to point that out. And hopefully,
you get to charge for it and then not charge for it? What are you trying to do here?
Exactly. But I think There's certainly, I mean, if you look at kind of any service industry, pretty much anyone is able to do the things that you are buying a service for, right?
Yeah.
Like you could cook, you could do all this stuff.
Right.
So really you're paying for someone who's competent or a professional or possibly better than you to do it. You're also kind of paying to save that time.
Yes.
Which is often a big sell, but you could do it. And sometimes doing it just for the exercise of doing it is all the reward you need. Other times you actually want a published and polished module to pull from or run whole cloth. So yeah, I think it really depends on the person.
Yeah, that's true. And I can see, and it's definitely when we were talking to the guys that did the Secrets of Blackmoor documentary, that was the thing that he said that seems like the biggest division between old school gamers and new gamers is just like, oh, and let me tell you about this elf in this setting that lives in these mountains. And it's like, I don't care about that. I make my own. You know, I've done that myself. We make that up as we go. So it is kind of a little bit of a culture clash between a newer and older. And I guess because when they're releasing the new versions of the games, D&D supports them with so much material. And people get really into those settings and they want to, kind of memorize the lore and know what they're doing. And you can see that with Jackson with the Pathfinder setting. He knows that setting inside and out. And so he wouldn't want to just completely improv because he likes it to be based in that actual world. And so maybe that's happened with younger gamers as well, because there's so much, official material produced. They're like, well, this is the canon. This is, this is what we want to follow. And older gamers were just like, there's 3 kobolds and I'm going to make up their religion right now. Their religion is, and, and they're wearing this. And so a different approach and a different type of creativity, I think, and maybe more is focused on the storytelling because you have the setting. So you can focus more on the drama and the character interaction because you know where you are. But maybe old school, less character, more, okay, I'm going to freak you guys out with this amazing,
I'm just going to roll on these random tables and cobble something together, which sometimes is amazing. And you sometimes come up with better results than you would. I guess the lore angle is one I hadn't thought of, where maybe it's kind of similar to a rules mastery kind of thing, where I'm going to take pride in the fact that I know this setting inside and out. Yeah, not wanting to improv because I want to know what's official or what's not. I mean, and I'm not saying that in like a negative sense, because some people really like the official setting of whatever. With I guess the new school, old school gamer kind of thing, I wonder if the old school gamer stuff was just necessity.
I think it was, There just wasn't.
Exactly. There wasn't a lot of material to pull from. And maybe it's kind of led to, I don't want to say turning up your nose at published stuff, but it's like, I did this myself because I had to. Why would I want to pay for the stuff that I kind of could do? And I'm sure that's not everybody, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, and especially if you're like, and the guy that's writing this is like 20 years younger than me.
Right.
Yeah. So I think there is a little bit of that. But and I think it is, it's a different taste. And like you said, I think each gamer and each gamer group kind of has their own wants and needs in the session. So it's going to just depend. Because we've had, I think the 2 5e sessions that we did, or campaigns that we did, the pirate setting, which was based on world building completely, like the
session 0,
blue and the, all the elves were magical privateers. And so it was a very interesting, original, fun place that we all invested our ideas in. And then we played the Underdark setting. And so you could really feel the difference between following something that was, manufactured by D&D for D&D and something that we had just kind of come up with. And the system worked fine in both cases, but I felt so much more invested in the pirate setting just because we had given our input, and it's like, this is the kind of game and this is what we want the humans to be and this is how savage we want the orcs to be. And I could feel that. I could definitely feel that difference, how you just get more invested if you've felt like this is our world.
Yeah, that's why I'm a big proponent of session 0.
Yeah, and that world building session 0, I wish everybody that was playing could have been there for that, because that was really, really fun. And then when we had our first session and people were just kind of adding their characters to that, it really became much more fleshed out and much more interesting.
Yeah, I like picking up modules just to see what you do in a game.
Oh, yeah.
Especially for a new game. Like, I think it should be kind of, not mandatory, but when a new game includes a sample adventure, okay, this gives me an excellent idea of what the characters do, kind of how the game is supposed to be run, and what type of adventures or scenarios are supposed to be run in it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, like where you're going to put the characters at the very beginning and kind of let them feel out the setting themselves. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so where can people find you online, Chris?
On Twitter, as always.
And charging for that DM material that they could
charging for that DM material. Yeah. It's $1 a tweet. Yeah. Actually, if I could find a way to do that, then I would.
Right.
No, it's at Hivemind, HYVEMYND. My Patreon account is at FAE _fantasy for Fate Accelerated Edition, even though now it's both Fate Accelerated and Fate Core.
Okay.
The Patreon is Fantastic Fate Resources, and that's also the blog where I put up free content. Yeah.
Nice. Outer Red Hands is at, of course, outerredhands.com, and check out both the YouTube channel and there is an Instagram. So occasionally there's pictures and little videos and things on the Instagram. We've got to get on that a little bit more. And then, of course, at Outer Red Hands on Twitter. If you want to support this podcast and keep things going and give us another reason to get more dislikes, you can visit us at patreon.com/outerredhands. That'll give you a chance to give input to what we're doing, make things more frequent, make camera quality better, make everything just kind of up and up and up and improve. So so check that out. We will be back next week. Bye.
Bye.
Sounds of a car on the overpass.